One thing that confuses people is that they see Bald and Bankrupt having drinks with a lot of derelicts and drunks in Eastern Europe and former Soviet Union countries. Most people are confused because it's not something a normal person would do. For instance, even the locals shun these men, these groups of men in the park, etc. It really makes people wonder, why does he do it? Most people have come to the conclusion that Bald and Bankrupt is just a very friendly, outgoing man who loves to have banter and meet new people regardless of their socio-economic position. Another hypothesis can be offered when you analyze some of his written works. In this post he discusses his strategy for getting with women in the former Soviet Union countries. In this particular case Belarus, he employs a strategy which he calls the Oscar Schindler tactic. I'm going to read to you a passage from this work. So let's begin. So how do you get laid in the provinces? The surefire way to get laid in the provinces is pretty much the same as any former Soviet Union provincial town. You spend time in one town, say a month. You rent an apartment, get known, have Russian lessons and meet people. Unfortunately, we don't all have the time or inclination to do that. We usually have just a few days in a town, and so your tactic is that you must get in with a local. Your best bet is Mamba. You'll find girls on there from most Belarusian towns. Be warned that English levels are low. I think Mamba is a great tool and can reap great results, but I don't often use it. The reason why not is I love the uncertainty of arriving in a town and not knowing what will happen. That is what I keep going back for. To challenge myself. I love arriving in a nondescript town in the former Soviet Union backwaters where I do not know a soul, where the people look unwelcoming, and then over the course of a few days using my guile and wit to get past that and end up in bed with a good-looking girl. Sometimes it works and I get on the train out of there a few days later with a huge smile on my face, and sometimes it does not and I learn from my mistakes. So how do I get in with a local? I use my Oscar Schindler tactic and it rarely lets me down. Remember that scene in Schindler's List where we first meet him? He is in a restaurant splashing the cash, buying officers drinks, making toasts, being that man. I do exactly the same. I usually head to a bar. I do this in parks too, wherever locals hang out, but only with guy groups, not girls. And see a group of male targets and get talking. Guys have none of the social pressures in talking to a foreigner. They are usually simple guys in sports gear without much money to rub between them. Younger guys are better, and ones that are on the cusp of being gopniki are great because they have access to slutty women. I'll buy us all drinks, get them drunk, invite them to England, make toasts to random shit. Let them play on my iPhone where I happen to show them my photos of me in my drop-top Merc, or in exotic locations around the world, etc. What I do not do is ever mention Belarusian girls to these types unless they do. I never give them the impression that they should in any way hide their women from me or I am using them to gain access. At the end of the night they usually escort me back to my hotel, we hug it out and I go to bed. Whilst I'm asleep, however, I know these dudes are phoning their other friends and girlfriends telling them about this foreigner they met and that he's a great love. Bought them beer all night. You are officially in. Now your new buddies who think you are the shit will call you up to smoke weed or drink. They will also want to show you off to their female friends and girlfriends because now they have a foreign friend, they have a higher value, and they will have friends asking if they can be introduced. It always works like that. You don't need to say anything to impress the girls when you meet them because these guys will big you up to them themselves. They will give you the ultimate accomplishment intros without realizing they have just set a cat amongst the pigeons. From here on in you can drop your new friends. This is easier said than done as these guys can be persistent. I have had them call me repeatedly to the point where I have had to lie that I have left town and then had to avoid them for the rest of my stay, which is stressful. And just run your game on the girls and get your bangs in the way you usually would in the former Soviet Union. This technique is one that I rely on constantly in a town where I know nobody, and it does not let me down often. Another technique is to Facebook friend people so that you know someone in the town. Then you say you plan to visit and they will offer show you around the town. No doubt you will be taken to the promenade in the evening, and because you are now not the foreign stranger but Sergei's friend, for example, you can talk to women without them worrying about it. In my personal experience, the best people to Facebook close are older women. Not because you want to bang them, but because they are great matchmakers, and if they know you are single and like you, they will try to set you up with local single girls that they know or are daughters of their friends. I have one middle-aged woman there right now who has invited me to stay with her in Kletsk for a week. I guarantee by the end of it she will be matchmaking for me. On 2 occasions in these towns I have had mothers ask me if I would like to take out their daughters. Both times I was with my long-term relationship, so I declined, but things like that can happen if you look like son-in-law material. He's a very calculating character. A lot of what we presume is random behavior often has a very well thought out and self-serving point to it. Ben is very intelligent but also displays a lot of sociopathic behavior patterns. He can befriend those gopniki, as he calls them, and lower-class men, winning their confidences and pretending to be their friend merely to exploit that relationship to allow him to get to his intended targets, the women. And as soon as they've served their purpose, notice that Ben drops them off with no regard, going so far as to lie to them to say that he's left town in order to not have any further contact with these men. Once they've served their purpose, Ben is no longer interested in maintaining any relationship with them whatsoever. So the innocent interactions we witness from Ben aka Bald and Bankrupt in videos in these former Soviet Union countries, they were formed from a pattern of exploitative behavior. That is why he is so comfortable in those interactions, because he's done it many times. Now they have a further purpose of providing content for his videos, but in the beginning they served mainly to allow him to exploit those relationships in order to get access to the women of the town. It's very interesting because he's a good writer and has had a lot of life experiences. But it's also disappointing to see someone with such base character traits and an almost inhuman disregard for other people, using them as someone would use tools to accomplish a task. But that draws to a close this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll have more readings from Ben's vast array of posts soon. See you then.